All right, the attorney generals in West Virginia and Indiana announced that they are co-leading a 27-state coalition urging the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse a Colorado court's decision to bounce former President Donald Trump from the Colorado presidential ballot. The states recognize that even as President Biden continues fear-mongering speeches claiming that democracy is in peril, the fact is that trust in the integrity of our elections is essential to a free republic. And this includes trust that votes will not be diluted by activist judges in other states. Well, joining me now to discuss this is Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost, who has joined this coalition of states. Attorney General Yost, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to have you.
Good to be with you.
All right, so let's begin with why was this move by your state and others? Why is this necessary?
Well, we've had individual state litigation across the country. I think there's 17 states that are in some portion of litigating whether Donald Trump is eligible to be on the ballot this fall for president if he were nominated by the Republican nominating electorate. Two of those pieces of state litigation have resulted in rulings that the President Trump is disqualified. One from the Supreme Court of Colorado, the other from the Secretary of State of Maine. Both of them relied on a Civil War era amendment to the Constitution, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, that bars insurrectionists from office.
So we're hearing this rhetoric, what you're referencing here, this type of talk, a constant drumbeat, if you will, messaging that democracy is in danger. President Trump is at the tip of the spear of it all, they say. So my question is, what does this Colorado court decision, as well as actions from other states, but what does this tell us about the left's willingness to literally go around the law to get whatever outcome they desire?
Well, the question you're asking is exactly why we asked the Supreme Court to hear an appeal from Colorado. I mean, that was a 4-3 decision in Colorado. There was a very well articulated dissent that said that the Colorado Supreme Court was denying Donald Trump due process of law by its action. And in addition to that, we have a constitutional provision that says in Section 5 of that same amendment that it's Congress's role to pass legislation enforcing the amendment, not state court judges and certainly not the Secretary of State of Maine. I don't even know if that office existed when the 14th Amendment was passed.
Yeah, great point there. I think another point in all of this, and you referenced it, but President Trump has not even been convicted of having engaged in insurrection, but certainly, the events of January 6th were only an insurrection, quite frankly, in the eyes of the left. I would argue that, and I believe most others would agree, that it was a riot at worst. I think that's worth noting, don't you?
Well, you're getting to the question of legally what is an insurrection for purposes of the 14th Amendment and the law and disqualification. And in fact, Congress has passed a law that says what insurrection is. It's a criminal statute that the government has to prove by proof beyond a reasonable doubt to convict somebody. Not only has Donald Trump not been convicted of insurrection, he hasn't even been charged with it, in spite of the fact that we've got a federal prosecutor who has brought two separate cases and chose not to charge under that section of law. That ought to tell you something.
Yeah, it really does. It tells me, and going back to the previous question, the left will stop at nothing to circumvent the law, even to redirect meaning of words in order to accomplish political ends. And that, if we are going to have a serious conversation about threats to democracy, I think this type of behavior has got to enter into the equation. It's got to enter into the debate on the table, because this type of stuff is not American. This is the type of things you would expect in third world countries, not under the rule of law that we have been accustomed to here in the United States.
You know, the only officers, they're the only positions in the federal government that are elected nationally. There's only two of them. One is the president, the other is the vice president. So they're kind of unique. Why did the framers, do you suppose, of the 14th Amendment give Congress the right to enforce, make the laws regarding the insurrection clause? It's a very simple answer,
Right.
and obvious as the nose on your face. We can't have 50 separate states making 50 separate determinations. It'll be chaos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, our time is about to run out, and I wanted to ask you this. I know that you've spoken in favor of Ohio's HB 68, the SAFE Act, that Governor DeWine there vetoed several days ago. But now we have a movement potentially getting ready to override the veto. How encouraged are you by the state lawmakers in their attempt to override the veto and protect the children of Ohio?
Well, the House of Representatives will vote on Wednesday, is my understanding. And while I certainly haven't spoken with every member of the General Assembly, I'm cautiously optimistic that they're going to do the right thing and override the governor's ill-advised veto on House Bill 68, which I'll remind your listeners prohibits biological males, people with an XY chromosome set, from competing against people with XX chromosome sets, and prevents surgical and pharmaceutical interventions on gender for minors, just for minors.
Thank you.
Adults can do what they want.
Thank you, Attorney General Dave Yost of Ohio. You're a great leader. We appreciate it very much, and thank you for joining us on Washington
Good to be with
Watch.
you.